This is my first TED Talk, certainly. But it wasn't until a couple of days ago that I even saw a TED Talk. I live in a Catholic peace community dedicated to simplicity, and we're kind of low tech. So no televisions and internet, modest. But I certainly heard about these TED Talks. So impressed, especially with the young people that come by our community, with how they love TED Talks. They just love them. And in colleges and schools, they're watching these TED Talks. Sean, who lives at our community, said, I want you to see a TED Talk. I want you to watch the best TED Talk, my favorite. And it was this British guy who was talking about creativity. And it was 20 minutes, the most hilarious 20 minutes anybody's ever seen. 3 million viewings over 10 years. And I thought to myself, my TED Talk isn't funny. Is that going to work? Here goes. It was some years back. I was at a Trappist monastery, as it was wont to do for us Catholic pacifist peace people, going to the monasteries to be reflective and to be in the quiet. It was led by Theophane, Trappist monk, and it was in silence. And out of the silence, he would ask a question. The question that day was, what must I tell a child that they really need to know? And he would pause. What must I tell a child that they really need to know? Keep asking the question, pause, just keep going deeper. What must I tell a child that they really need to know? So what I would like to do is to focus on the really need to know. And apparently, we live in a world where the information doubles every 12 months. Actually, Ralph said 11 months. So think of Google. You can find out anything, right? You can find out Thomas Jefferson's father's breakfast routine if you want to find it out. Just Google it. Every 12 months, it doubles. Is that good? Is it too much? Is it overwhelming? How do I navigate that? How do I educate? How do we educate ourselves and our children? And how do we conduct educational establishments, given that? I think back on my 6th grade days, and it was the fall of 6th grade, 1958. And Mr. Gillespie, my 6th grade teacher, called me up to his desk. Now, it wasn't Dizzy Gillespie. I wish it was. Wouldn't it be nice to have Dizzy Gillespie as a 6th grade teacher? It was not. It was Mr. Gillespie. And Mr. Gillespie asked me, he spoke to me and he said, you know, Brayton, by the time you're ready to enter the workforce, you're going to need a graduate degree just to get a job. Now, he was telling me what I think I should know. He was an elder, a very strong teacher, a respected educator, and he was telling me that this is La La Land. I was in a very comfortable suburb of New York. I was loved. I was happy. Every day was a good day, pretty much. But that's not the real world. The real world is you start to get your ducks in a row. That's a competitive world. There's not all that much to go around. And so I had a sense of that when I was a young person because I played sports. And I knew that when my team went against the other team, the point was to win. The point of competition is not to lose. The point is to win. So everybody kind of knows that. And the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat. Right? I was very much under the influence of Vince Lombardi, that winning is not a good thing. Winning isn't a good thing. It's the only thing. So it's a win-lose world. Oh, there's a certain amount of winners. There's only one winner on top. And so this is the kind of world. And I realized that that now I saw others as competitive. Of course, you compete socially, you compete academically, you compete in sports. So competition is part of life, especially in society that I grew up in. And so you realize that you have to kind of win over. The point is to win over, because there's going to be one winner. Or you have to make others losers. So this is beginning to feel a little bit alien when you buy this mindset, which is sort of random. We don't really know why we're here, but now that we are here, let's survive, and let's survive well. So that was the world that I grew up in. And that's the world that I think maintains today if we don't have other mindsets. Karl Marx said it well, I think. He said, "To sell your labor to the person that owns the means of production is inherently alienating." To sell your labor to the person that owns the business is inherently alienating. So you come to that person who legally owns the operation, and you are there at their behest. You are there at their pleasure. And you either enhance that place or you don't. And if you enhance it today and not tomorrow, well, then you might be gone. So it's inherently alien. Something alien about this. So on into adult life I go. And I did not take Mr. Gillespie's advice. I think I took Dizzy Gillespie's advice. And the advice was what? Improvisation, jazz, music, make room for the muse. Was that more what I wanted, or more what we all want? I took a course in world religions in college and studying Asian religions, and I was very enamored of that. I grew up Roman Catholic, but I was very enamored of this contemplative side of Asian religions. And then later on in adult life, I ran into a quote by Gandhi, which presents another side. And that quote was, "If love not be the law of being, then the whole of my argument falls to pieces." If love not be the law of being, then the whole of my argument falls to pieces. Law of being, this is ontology, all the philosophers love this ontology. Being is everything. Being is the ground of everything. You might as well say love is the law of all reality. Love is all of the cosmos. Love is all that's in life. Is the law of being is love. And if not, the whole of my argument falls to pieces. So what was his argument? His argument was ahimsa. Himsa, a Sanskrit term in Hinduism. Violence. Himsa. Ahimsa is non-injury, non-violence. So it's a non-injurious love in thought, word, and deed. Of course, the Hindus are big on this. You also see that very much in the spirit of the Sermon on the Mount, as Jesus teaches it. It starts within. Whatever it is that we're looking for, it's all inside. So thought, word, and deed. So your thinking matters. That's why the silence is important in the contemplative tradition, is to observe that. And thought, word, and deed. Bring that to the world. You want peace? That's the way to do it. That's the argument. I learned it from Jesus, which is the love of enemy. Not just love of friends and love of nice arrangements and love of pizza, love of ice cream, love of good beer. I mean, we all know what that is, but it's the love that is challenging, right? It's the love of the enemy. It's the love of an unlikable person, the unreachable person, apparently. So this is how broad it is, right? Because love is the law of being. You see, I see it with the Quakers. Nothing good can come from violence. Nothing. It's a very ahimsic term. It's a very non-injurious thing to say. Nothing good can come from violence. That's very ahimsic. All right. So then we see the implications of this ahimsa, and it calls into question the statement, if love be the law of being, then my whole, if not be the law of being, then the whole of my argument falls to pieces, calls into question two things, two questions. One, who am I? Who am I and how am I to live in this world? Those are the two essential questions. And education and all this information has to be navigated through to answer those two questions. Because if we don't get those two questions right, we'll be searching. If we get it right, then we'll start to feel that we belong in existence. Because if love is the law of being, it's all been loved into existence. And that we're meant to be here. It's not random. In the other view, the competitive view, the win-lose view, well, we don't really know why we're here. But we better survive while we're doing it. We got strong survival instincts, and for the educated class, then we want to survive well. Who am I? Now, have we created ourselves? Who has created themselves and knows exactly who they are? Nobody. So we have to search it out. It's part of our responsibility as a human being. We've got to search it out. We've got to do the work. We've got to do the navigation of the knowledge and the experiential experimenting to find out who we are. And when we do in this line of work, as Gandhi through Jesus and many of the great saints and prophets, then we are a spark of that divine. We are meant to be here. We're not a mistake. It's not random, right? That's the word these days, right? Random. It's not random. It's meant to be. You were loved into existence. That's who you are. Part of your spark of that divine. And then how are we to live in this world? We are to live in this world the way Mike at our community just exhibited. Last weekend, Mike was on a work crew. We had a work day at the community where 50 or so people come and they help us clear the brush. We have 34 acres of land. So we clear the brush and put the wood up. And so Mike was sighing. We don't use any fossil fuel engines and motors in our garden and in our landscaping. So he was sighing, this old ancient sigh where you cut down the grass. And he whacked it, Mike's a strong guy, and he whacked the brush, and he whacked a bird's nest that was in the brush. And he was mortified. I have never seen such a mortified look. He comes to me and he said, I hit a nest, and there's a chick in the nest. Could you come and see if it's all right? And I wanted to say, well, yeah, but I have to get the other seeds. And no, could you come and see? This was a tribute to his non-injurious soul. He was living out his destiny as a non-injurious human. Beautiful. Beautiful to behold. I would like to see this bumped up. Recently, Jahar Tsarnaev has been given the death sentence for the so-called marathon bombing in Boston, and we live in the Boston area. So we came to that courthouse on a regular basis and sat in silent vigil with a sign that said, "Blessed are the merciful." One of history's greatest non-injurious statements. Blessed are the merciful. Everybody knows who said it. Everybody knows what it meant, especially in Irish Catholic Boston. We were there with Quakers. We were there with Veterans for Peace, who were combat veterans who are now pacifist. We were there with Pax Christi, National Catholic Peace Group. And they were there. And our community was there. We were standing in vigil in opposition to the death sentence. Why? Because it violates love as the law of being. It either is or it isn't. That more killing, more trapping, more punishing, more threatening to punish, and more taking of life is a violation of the law of being. And that is not our true destiny. We've got to keep searching. We still believe that. We've got to keep searching about who we are and how we're supposed to live in this world. So yes, you may need a PhD. You may need a graduate school degree, or maybe given inflation, you need 2 PhDs. But not just to get a job, to fulfill your destiny as a lover, as a person who heals and reconciles and understands conflict and knows how to resolve it nonviolently, or understands the science of the natural world, so we can begin to, perhaps the first time in modern world, love the earth, because that's part of the being. We're not loving the earth. So yes, you can find this information, and you can gather it, and you can even put it into a degree, but not for a job, but to find out who you really are and what you should be doing in this world. Thank you.
Thank you.